out. Okay, so let's begin. The first mimer, page 50. What's Parshas Acharei? Acharei Mois. The kids of Aaron died. We learn Chassidus, we understand. I mean, obviously, we know that there's the wine thing that they drank. But the Pashtos, we learn Chassidus, we understand that they have Kleis HaNefesh. They wanted to come close to the Eibishter. Whenever you want. So the idea, if we understand Al Pi Chassidus, what does it mean? That the avoda of Ratso that we learned about last week is not desired at every. In other words, that's not the place. The Chol Eis, it's not appropriate for all times. So the Alter Rebbe in this Maimer is going to speak about the importance of Shuv.
I was just going to ask you, Ratso, I'm only hearing this the first time.
Right, okay, good.
Three times in different scenarios by Rabbi Morozov. And Ratso veshuv and Ratso veshuv is the same thing, different pronunciation?
Yeah, it should. Some people say Ratso, but it's Ratso veshuv.
Ratso veshuv, okay.
Yeah? The Acharei is Ratso veshuv. Lechem Shalom Reb Eli. Don't worry, I don't know that you're there. Okay, let's learn. So page 50. Ki Vayom Hazeh says the pasuk. By the way, this is the Kiddush of Yecaper. If you have to eat. So Ki Vayom Hazeh Yecaper Aleichem Atayres Tamikol Chateisechem Lifnei Hashem Tithoru. Yecaper is the day of Kapor. Hine Yesh Lahav Mashakosov Yecaper Stam. Question number 1. Why does it say Yecaper? It doesn't say who forgives. It should have said Yecaper Hashem. We're going to talk more about Ratso veshuv, okay? It's known that's what Yom Kippur is about. It's not a day of atonement, it's a day of return. It's not even a day of forgiveness, it's a day of return. They don't know that we're here. Someone just opened the door. Sorry. The inyan Atshuva, what's the inyan of Tshuva? Lahoshiv nafshi halikis l'meker chaytzva, to restore the nefesh halikis to its place of origin. The way it was before. Slavish before before the neshama came down, it's a cool of the meker of the shorsh of the kolam there in Sokor. Kosu bezeh al possibly bafaf of nishmas chayim man lenofach mitefid nofach. We don't know, by the way, where that zayar is from. Shemitchila hoya hahevel kolul b'mkeiri v'shorshay. The breath of Hashem was in its source. The haynu b'mhusi v'asmusei mamush. Elo shala'achar yiridosei v'ishtalshus lamadregis. After the neshama came down, nishtana b'mhus l'mhus v'yordo l'yislabish b'guf ha'odem be'elam hazeh. So it traveled a great distance. Asher alkein tzarich lahashiva l'mekeira k'shayis. So we have to restore it to the way it was before. Olahalis nafshei laHashem, to return on neshama. Liyas dvuka b'lekim chayim, to be connected to the Eibishter. Shetichla ve'erin sog baruch hu kebatchila, that it should be one with the Eibishter. So let's open this up a little bit. Don't wait. We know. In Chassidus we talk about ha'ara and ha'ara de ha'ara. Yeah, what's ha'ara and ha'ara de ha'ara? L'moshel, the sun. So in daylight, you could be in a room with a small window. You could have an umbrella over your head to block the light of the sun, but you're still getting the light of the sun. And then there's the light of the sun, the way we get it through the moon at night. It's a different color. It's changed. It's not the same during the day. If I have a room with big windows or small windows, or if there's okay, so you're getting a little more, a little less, but it's the Eir HaShemesh. It's all the Eir HaShemesh. The Levana, when it comes through the Eir HaLevana, there's a shinui. It's a ha'ara de ha'ara. It's what you're getting from the moon is completely new. The source is whatever it is. When the neshama comes down Lamato, it's not just that the neshama was weakened.
How is it weakened?
Lehachlish, chalash.
Ah, weak.
Yeah, it wasn't just weakened, that the neshama is weaker, but the neshama was put in a space where Ruchnius has it can't relate to Ruchnius at all. What are we asking? What's Yecaper? Yecaper is restore your neshama. Remember where you came from. Restore your neshama to a place of Ruchnius. But what do you mean? But I don't feel it. In other words, right? What the Alter Rebbe is saying, essentially, we're going to have the same letters. Tshuva and shuv are the same letters, and the motion and they're going to be two opposite directions. Because when we say tshuva, we're saying that we should withdraw from the world. And when we say shuv, we're going to say that we have to re-immerse in the world. Right? So somehow they have to be related.
You know, can you explain where you come to that conclusion? That tshuva means to re-immerse.
Tshuva means to return. So return means to withdraw.
To become more spiritual.
We just
Yeah.
To withdraw from what?
To withdraw from the gashmias of the world. Right? And then shuv is going to be to become more active in the gashmias of the world.
It's opposite of zeros.
Right, the opposite of the Ratso. Right? So let's see a little bit inside. Switch the setting because it keeps on. The internet here is not so great. So let me move to my phone. Okay, maybe it'll be better now. So let's learn a little bit inside. Right? So what's the Alter Rebbe saying? The Alter Rebbe is saying that the neshamas Yisrael are rooted in the Elikus deeper than the world.
There is some anger.
Okay, we're trying something else.
Good.
Okay, the right neshamas of Yidden are rooted higher than the world. B'min nimlach, when the Eibusher created the world, so he reflected on nishmiseim shel tzaddikim. So nishmiseim shel tzaddikim are the shayrish of creation. So if we're going back to the place of our origin, the place of our origin is before the world. Yeah, anachnu shoresh right? And then the Alter Rebbe also brings this idea that Hashem created the world with dibur. Right? Hashem created the world with speech. But Neshamas Yisrael are not Hashem's speech. Neshamas Yisrael are Hashem's breath. So Hashem's breath is part of Hashem, right? It's closer. In other words, for those of you that were here Shabbos, the world is an expression of Hashem's midas. Neshamas are not an expression of Hashem's character. Neshamas are an expression of Hashem Himself. It's Ashpa Pnimis. Right? The hevel of the Eibishter's breath, it's an inyan pnimi of the Eibishter. It's not, in other words, a character is a tziur.
In order to breathe in us, he needs to breathe out.
Yeah, but you understand what I'm saying? That behavior is a tziur. It's an outside. Right? It's a design. Breath is the essence. Breath is not a design. Breath is who I am. Breath in it. Breath doesn't either. I understand. But you understand what I'm saying? It's deeper. Right? Remember what we said, that when you speak and you block the words, you hear it anyway. But when you're blowing and you block the breath, then it stops the breath. Why? Because breath is a direct connection. So the neshama is a direct connection to Hashem, whereas the world is a projection. So neshamas the idea of tshuva is to remember that this world, this is not our habitat. We're mishtei and hecher. We come from a higher place. This is not. Habitat זה מקום מגורים, כמו שבחיות יש להם אואסיס, כן, יש להם מקום איפה שהם גדלים, כן, אז זה habitat, זה מקום איפה שטוב לבני אדם, זה, you need a certain weather, right, יש תנאים, so neshama of a yid, we don't belong here, our shayrish is before this, so that's the inyan of Yecaper. Now we continue, והנה, להבין,
נשמות זה גם לפני שורש העולם.
זה מה שאומר, להבין, תכלס וירידס והשתלשלוס הנשמה. So let's understand, he says, tachlis, the purpose, והשתלשלוס, ירידס, והשתלשלוס הנשמה כל כך, the neshama has such a fantastic descent, שיורדה ממקום גבוה מאוד, למקום נמוך מאוד. It came from a place, the word ma'id means endlessly, it came from a place that's endlessly exalted, a part of Hashem, and it came to a place that's endlessly, right? It denies truth, right? It's the world, the word helam, right? Helam means a concealment. What's it concealing? Hashem, Elikus is Havaya Elikim Emes, Hu Elikim Chaim. Hashem is truth. Truth is synonymous with Hashem. And the world is Helam. The world is a lie. It's Elam HaSheker. It's the farthest place possible. So the Alter Rebbe asks, what's the purpose? V'tzorich kama yegiyos la'ashiva k'mikodim. You know, to go through the world and to be okay. You know what I mean? To come out unscathed. It's like, it's a big job. Tzorich kama yegiyos. V'halavai. Halavai tehei hashava mal yaseh. Halavai, when we give back our neshama, we give it back in decent shape, you know? It's like returning a lease.
No damage wages.
Yeah. Ki harbe drachim becheskas hakona, chas v'sholem, there's danger. V'lo mahoisak azes mulfanav yizbarach. Why? Eibishter, why? So why is the Alter Rebbe asking this question? Because Parshas Acharei Mois, the Bnei Aaron, they wanted Ratso, they didn't want it, right? And then what did it say? V'al yavai, that it's not the place. So that's why the Alter Rebbe brings the question here. So in order to understand this question, but Hashem is compared to fire. We say Hashem is compared to fire. What does it mean? In what way? It's hot. You know what? It's good for cooking. Like, well, what does it mean? The Eibusher is compared to fire, but the pasuk tells us what it means. It means eish oichla, consuming fire. There are four elements: eish, ruach, mayim, ofer, and there are many dvarim gashmiyim in the world. There's no physical existence in the world that's like fire. Fire, in order for fire to exist, it needs other existences. Mayim, water, doesn't need anything else in order to be water. He is. The wind doesn't need anything. Fire, in order for it to exist, it needs wood, it needs fuel. Fire is dependent. The other Yesodis are not dependent. Pirush, al derech moshul, kishem sha'esh. So imagine that we're saying that Hashem is dependent. Hashem is, he has a condition that has to be met. Yes. Pirush al derech moshul, kishem sha'esh, einoi meir. Obviously, it's not going to give light, and it's not even going to be called fire till it has a wick or wood. Ken? Right? Without it, that's it. Why? Because he talks about the reason because it's running away. Kach hinei dvar Hashem shebei nasu shebei shamayim nasu uberuach piv kol tzevom ba'asara mamoris shnivra olam. Yes, so the Eibishter's dibur yehi oir yehi rakia Halekei dvari ke'esh. My words are like fire. So not only is there a pasuk in Dvarim that says that I am like fire, Hashem Alekecha Eish Eichlahu, but we have another pasuk that says in the Nevi'im that Dvari Ka'esh, that my words are like fire.
דבריי כאש, זאת אומרת
שזה צריך...
כל המאמר שהקדוש ברוך הוא אמר, זה כאילו, זה כמו אש, זה יכול להסתלק למעלה.
לא, יש דבר, הוא צריך נפט, הוא צריך... He needs fuel. The Dvar Hashem needs fuel.
זאת אומרת, אתה צריך לעשות מצוות,
זה כדי
שהוא יישאר פה.
Yes.
אחרת אם לא, זה לא יישאר.
על דרך משהו. ליאס, בחינס טבע ובחינס הסתלקוס, למקרה ושורשה דקולה. That the Dvar Hashem should rescind. Let's unpack, says the Alter Rebbe. Let's talk a little bit more about what Dibur looks like in our world. In other words, we have a mashal to this detail of the Dibur being like fire. We have a mashal, right? We have a mashal in right? We have a mashal in our own speech. Hadibur hu miyasei ha'esh. Speaking is fueled.
By breath?
It's fueled by passion. It's fueled by, right? When people speak, there's an energy. There's a. He says, Hadibur yitzeh mehevel halev derech hakona. The halev hu ikar yisei ha'esh. The words, the breath of the words, which he's going to talk about in a minute, comes from right near the heart. In other words, the cooling system, right, of the human being.
Lungs?
Yeah, the lungs all happen right here. So within the cooling system, part of it, one of the ways, if you're driving a Chabad car and you're overheating, so one of the ways of dealing with that is to turn on the heat very high. So it blows out, or just the vent. I don't know. You don't have to put on the heat. Just turn on the vent high, and then the hot air is going to come out. So part of the cooling system is also that the hot air comes out. Right? Everyone know who has a pet here, a dog. Anybody?
Used to.
Yeah, used to.
That's about it.
So you know that dogs don't sweat.
Really?
How do they give out with their panting? That's how. So that's why when they run,
He's not sweat.
right? It's because that's where all the heat goes out, right? So for us, when you exhale,
You had a pet?
it's all out chassidus. In chassidus, you learn the whole Torah.
You know. Yeah, but don't.
So right? Ani lo tzarich, ani batzmim. Yeah. So when you breathe out, that's part of the system. So part of the system is breathing in. So you're bringing in the cold air, and it's spreading out, and then you're letting out
Assuming that people have full hot air.
Yeah, that's okay. So that's how it we release. So it's right. That's right. So it's right near the heart, and then he brings this lashon hevel halev lahav, the three formulations of these three letters. So we see that b'dibur, just like l'mayla kavyochel by the Eibusher. In other words, when we learned Tanya and we said that the Eibusher's dibur is like, right? Why do we call Hashem's dibur? Because dibur is revelation. So by gilui, dibur is a gilui. As by l'mayla, by the Eibusher, dibur is gilui l'zulasa. It's revealing. And then we learned a little bit further in Tanya and Shaychad v'Amuna that there's also the Moitzois, right? The Chav Beis Oisias really are also part, that just like by a human being there are 22 Oisias, it's a Nishtal Shalamayla, by the Eibishter, that's what creates the diversity in the world, that comes from the Hei Moitzois. Now the Alter Rebbe is telling us there's another aspect, just like by a human being, words are heat, the breath is heated, there's warmth, by the Eibishter Kavyachol, it's also, that's where the fire is. Yeah. So now the Alter Rebbe says, this is not the place to talk about exactly how the fire and the dibur by the Eibishter, the relationship of the fire and the speech. But alkol v'amaskel yovin. But nimtzo. So what do we understand? She'i efsher lihikore b'shem oir Hashem. Ve'eni nitfas b'shem oir v'ziv klal ki im al yidei amshoches v'yishtalshlos hamadreges rabbis she'i nitfas ha'oir. That the fire has to grab on, it has to hold on to something. Now, let's talk for a moment about this point about fuel. Around the fire, so we talk about the colors around the wick. We talk about the colors of the flame. That the flame that's right near the fire is the black or the blue right around the wick. Then it gets a little orange, and then there's the yellow fire, right? What's the difference of the color? So in Kabbalah it says that because the fire is a very refined an element, a good, yeah. Fire is a mod dak. It's a chomer dak meod. It's very pure. So when it comes in contact with things that are coarse, in order to burn them, the fire has to get busy. The busyness, that's what changes the fire's color. So when fire, the more delicate, the more refined the fuel is, the brighter the flame will be.
The less it has to get involved.
Right? Like, I don't know if you saw, let's say the explosion on 9/11, the flame was very white. The fire was very white because what was burning, the jet fuel, is very refined. It's a very high grade of fuel. And when fire burns, wood, but sometimes fire even, let's say when it's burning something that doesn't burn, like when it's on the bricks, or when there's brush, like when the fire is moving, you can't even see it.
Slide.
Because it's dark. Because what's it in contact with?
dark.
בגלל שזה חומר עב. אז כדי לתפוס את זה, אז זה עובד קשה. אז לכן הצבע משתנה לגמרי. זה נעשה שחור. האש זה שחור.
בין דבר עדין לבין דבר קשה.
כן, the more delicate, the more white the fire is. So here he says, in order for the Eibishter to be nitfas, to catch, right? He needs to have fuel. What kind of fuel? Not fuel that's refined and delicate, but fuel that's coarse. It needs a kind of fuel that it could really grab onto that's different, that's not as edel. Okay, that's not as delicate. So he says, Bishtalshul Samadreges, commit just like it works in Gashmias. It's known now. So we know that the Medrash says, but it's noida, it's known. The Baal Shem Tov made it famous. Kidvar Hashem, Shebay Shamayim Nasu, that the words that the Eibishter used to create the Shamayim, Nitzav Shom La'olam, the words remain there forever. Ki La'olam Hu Mahava Me'ayin Liyesh, to create something from nothing, it has to be sustained straight through. You can't just say that the Eibishter said, let there be a Shamayim, and it remains, and the words leave. So I just want to mention that there's a Fabrengen from Reb Mendel Morozov, who's 100, he's Fabrengen in Borough Park. There's a little video. Most of the Fabrengen is jokes. But here, there, you have to listen. An alter chassid, somebody who crawled on the Frierdiker Rebbe's lap, So he says there that when
he was 18.
When the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, that when for Hashem to create something from nothing, you can't just create it and let it go. So he says to everyone sitting around the table, the people sitting around the table are very into Achdus Hashem. They all learned Sheikhut Ramuna, they're like all into the subject. So he says, what do you think? The Eibishter could do anything. The Eibusher could have, he could have done that. He could have said Yehi Rakia, and that's it. And the words leave, and it'll stay. He says the Alter Rebbe is talking to the Koifrim. He's talking to the people that are medamin, that compare creation to forming a vessel. Yeah, as lahem hu omer. The Alter Rebbe is telling them that's not a comparison, right? Now coming back, so if that's the case, so now we have to take that out of context. Wait a second, the Alter Rebbe is speaking only to the people that are talking to a blacksmith. So what's the Alter Rebbe saying here? In other words, what happens beyond that? Beyond that, what happens is Hashem, and this fits in a lot with the Maimer, Hashem wants to have a relationship with us. What does the word relationship mean? Relation. That there's his hityachasut. Right? Hityachasut means that what exists in our experience is mirrored in Hashem. So the only reason why Hashem is involved in the creation is so we should have the shaykhus. Because otherwise, if He wasn't involved, we wouldn't have any relatable, we wouldn't have a paradigm, we would have no, you understand what I'm saying? If Hashem would just create, He's Kol Yochel, He could do whatever He wants. Got it, but I don't get it. You understand? I can't, his slapshus, and that's really, the Rebbe, right, there's this question. The Rebbe starts off Shaykh Vayom saying that the Baal Shem Tov said, Le'ilam Hashem dvacha nitzav v'shamayim. So the famous question is, what do you mean? It's not from the Baal Shem Tov, it's a medrash. So there are two answers. There's a whatever, a pashut answer, then there's a deeper answer, right? So the simple answer is, well, the Alter Rebbe, he wanted to memorialize the Baal Shem Tov in the beginning of Sheikhat V'Amunah. So therefore, just like Rashi started off Chumash, right? What was Rashi's father's name? Yitzchak. So Rashi starts off Chumash Amar Rab Yitzchak, because he wants to memorialize his father. So the Alter Rebbe, Shara Yichud V'Amunah used to be the first section of Tanya. Right? In the Madura Kama, Shara Yichud was the first section. So right at the beginning of the first section, the Alter Rebbe is Yisrael, he's Baal Shem Tov. Then there's a more developed answer. The Rebbe says that the Medrash tells us, the Hashem's words are Yehi Rakia, very nice. However, the Baal Shem Tov has a chidush. The Baal Shem Tov's chidush is not, the Baal Shem Tov introduces not only are the Eibishter's words in the heavens, but they're melubosh, that Hashem is enclosed in. Hashem is related to. He's involved. That's the Baal Shem Tov. The Medrash doesn't say that. The Medrash says, L'olam dvarcha nitzav yehi rakia. But the Alter Rebbe, Baal Shem Tov says it's meluboshes, they're enclosed in the heavens.
The purpose is that so we can have something to relate to it.
Right. So here, this is what the Baal Shem, what the Alter Rebbe is saying here. That the Dvar Hashem, it's ayin liyesh, but it's ayin liyesh in a way that we should relate. See what the Tzemach Tzedek adds. V'chein hu b'medrash tilim al pasuk zeh. V'zel l'shoyne, he quotes the medrash tilim. Ezel davar anitza b'shamayim. What words? What's dvar chanitzav? Ezel davar. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu amar shamayim oimdim. Al oisei davar shamarti yehi rakia b'seich hamayim kulu. Uba'oisei adavar shabara oison, what he used to create them, heim oimdim lo'ilam. Makach nemar, that's why it says, lo'ilam dvar chanitzav b'shamayim, ad kam l'shoyne ha-medrash shecher tov. Yeah? You know Medrash Shecher Tov? You have it at home? So Medrash Shecher Tov is a Medrash on Tilim, and maybe on Shmuel, on Novi. So I think it's on three Sfarim. A Medrash is a Medrash. That's what it's called. Yeah. Here comes the punchline. When they created the world originally, The Eibishter was self-motivated in the 21st century language. Hashem inspired himself to do it. He initiated it. You know, like when you open a business, you put in seed money. But year 2, you got to see returns. At a certain point, you have to start seeing, right? Like you understand, to launch this, I have to make an investment. Oh, the Eibishter made an investment. But at a certain point, you have to... Yeah, where's the profit? That's right. No, where's the profit? You know the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos? It's an incredible thing, the Mishnah. It says, Basara Amoris Nivra Elam. Why? In order to reward the tzaddikim, and they get paid back to the Shoyim. Paid back to the Shoyim. I mean, that's why the Eibishter... It's a shy, you know. So there's a Chassidish taich in the Mishnah. Lihipara means to get paid back. Where does Hashem get his returns? From the Rishoyim. From the tzaddikim he doesn't get anything. From the Rishoyim, that's where he gets his returns. Why? Because the tzaddikim, they're just mixing light. But the Rishoyim are transforming darkness to light. That's the return. Because the Eibishter can't do that. Kavyochel.
Tzaddikim unlimited salary chatzin.
They're swimming in light.
Can have unlimited number.
That's the bottom of the Rishoyim that the Hashem cashes out creation, this whole business. Where does he get his returns? From the Rishoyim. Why? Because they transform darkness to light.
That's why we so many of them.
We make them. The Yes Choyim v'Kayamim L'Olam, in order to be able to continue to exist. Me'ayin liyesh hu al yidei ma'aseh tachtenim dafke medaf tom. K'meshe kosev, like the pasuk says, kol hanikra b'shmi v'lechvaydi, everything b'shmi that's called, it's mine. Yeah. So he says, v'lichvaydi barasi v'tzarti afasisev. I made it all for my covet. What does that mean? I made it for my covet. What's my covet? Torah. Torah. What does Torah mean? Torah doesn't only mean learning Torah. Torah means Torah and mitzvahs, the package. Shehem derech klal ramach mitzvahs aseh v'shasa mitzvahs lo yisaseh shehem heim b'chinas kelim la'ashras oir Hashem. We don't have to look anywhere else for how to bring elikus into the world. There's a recipe. There's Torah and mitzvahs. Yeah, the shifti sheyir le'dira b'tachtenim. The heim, they are kedimyan apsila v'eitzim. They're like the wicks and the wood. Shebahem nechaz ha'or shle'yistalek l'mayla chas v'sholem. That the Eibishter's light should not escape the world. Now the Alter Rebbe, he's got to bring another few, some punches. He says like this: there's a lashon in Chazal. Lav urcha de malkel ishtoi milin dehed yoita. A king doesn't talk about ordinary matters. You don't like schmooze about the weather, what's going on, It's a king. Lav urcha de malka. It's not the way. Lishtoi to talk milin dehed yoita. Pirush. The Alter Rebbe says, what does milin dehed yoita mean? Ordinary language. Milin dechdi. Junk. Things that are pointless. She'ena me'erke. When Hashem created the world, what did he say? Yehi rakia. What's the rakia? Junk. Tache oretz deshe. What is it? It's all ayin ve'efes. The whole world is nothing. He says, V'hine kol ha'olemus ha'yoyne v'tachtenim kulim hem milideh yoyte l'gabe HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chveidev ha'atzmei l'gabe Hashem. It's all shu ram v'nis ha'leim revaves madreges ha'diketz v'tachlis. V'kol ha'mamish kolochshi v'kamei l'gabe Eibishter. It's all nothing. He says, just to give a little mashal. So kamei l'mashal malach basar v'adam sheyesh le'elef alofim ribu revaves. He has millions of gold and silver b'inyan offer v'cheres. Right? Someone's going to talk about how much soil and clay the king has. As charse adama. Shein vade milin det yete l'gabe. You're talking about a gvir, a king. V'chein v'yoser mikein le'ein kates. Endlessly more than that. Lein ketz v'tachlis, nechshav l'gabi HaKadosh Baruch Hu. L'saper b'dvar Hashem, b'asar ma'amoris, v'de'ebish to say, Yehi Eir, Yehi Rakiach Hulu, she'milim ded yoyte, yoyser me'ofer v'cheres, l'gabi HaKesev v'zov, she'em gamkin and yonim gashmiyim, p'chines doimim, k'mei ofer v'cheres. It's all gold and silver and clay are all doimim.
It's really hitting it.
Where do you get the gold and silver?
בקיצור, אנחנו כלום.
אנחנו לא. אלא בצירוף es הכסף, בבחינס הזוב. You search for the gold. Masach shuvim ma'id, muvdol and havim enough for you. Until we look at it, we say, how could you compare gold and dust? You know, the Rebbe, I was just learning Perek Yud Beis of Sharei Chod V'Emunah. So in Perek Yud Beis, the Alter Rebbe speaks about the Mamoros. So he says, what Eibishter said, Yehi Rokia, it created it created Rokia, the 7 Rokiim and everything in them. And then the Alter Rebbe gives examples. There's a Gemara in Chagiga that lists the 7 heavens, and it names them. And the Alter Rebbe chooses 3 of the 7. Random. So the Rebbe, by Fabrengen once, the Rebbe explained why the Alter Rebbe speaks about these 3. And he says that the other ones, like let's say one of them, there's the sun and the moon. So he says the sun and the moon, they have their own dibur. On Wednesday, Hashem said, Yehi ma'oris, shemesh and yereach, and kechavim, right? So the Alter Rebbe only, and then there's another one where there's malachim, in other words, the Alter Rebbe only chose the 3 that are not named in the Asara Ma'amoris. Right? He's very particular. Then the Rebbe says, and the Rebbe said, you see how meduyik every letter, you have to learn it. When the Alter Rebbe says something, you have to learn it again and again. Afochba, v'afochba, it's all in there. Yeah, that's what the Rebbe says, yeah. So when it says Yehi Rokia, what's Yehi Rokia? Yehi Rokia includes the Rokia where Hashem is grinding mun for tzaddikim. Right? Yeah. Yehi Rokia includes where there's the Beis Hamikdash, Yerushalayim Shel Mailo. That's all included in Yehi Rokia. And all of that, so it's all nothing. L'gabi the Eibishter. So he says, Eina arich klal, les machshavet fisa be klal, me efes v'teyu nechshavu loy, elo, kol ma shebara HaKadosh Baruch Hu lebara ala l'chvoide, everything was created for Torah and mitzvahs. V'lachein emrim hamalachim kodesh, meloi chol ha'aretz kevoide. The gabe malachim, the Eibishter is kodesh, he's removed from them, beyond them. And where is he? Melech ha'aretz kevoide, he's below them. It's odd. They have no access to the Eibishter. He's Ramu misnaseh mimeis olam. More than the age of the universe. Ke'atu kodim shnivro olam v'atu chulu. Ani avaylei shani siksiv. Elo. Melech ha'aretz adachtoine dafke kvoidoi. Melech ha'aretz kvoidoi. That's where the Eibishter's garment is. That's where the Torah is. What's covered? Glory. Pirush levushay. The Rabbi Yochanan, the Gemara says, Kori lemani mechabdusa. Rabbi Yochanan had a synonym for clothing. Mani is garments. He would call clothing mechabdusa. Shesham, in this world, nislabesh b'mais, that's where the Eibishter is enclothed, b'maisa mitzvahs, v'kiyum ha'teirah. V'gam ha'teirah, he chachmasir tzeni is barech shu kvedi, that's the Eibishter's glory. Gehainu hoid ma telavushay. That's the glory of the spread out garment of the Eibishter, and that's Melech Halaretz Kavod. Kavod begematria lamed beis nesives chachma. Hem hiluchim v'hishtalshelus chachma elah. Those are the paths, like the streaming path of the Eibishter's wisdom. V'hishtalshelus leilemes lamata mata. Let me just mention a nukud over here. So this morning I was giving a shir. Ken, the Yisrael, Ken. Yeah. Yeah, you hear what he's saying. The Torah begins and ends with Lamed Beis. The end is Lamed and the beginning is Beis. Yeah, Lamed Beis Nesiv is Chachma. Yisrael is the last word and Bereshis. So this morning I was right. This morning I was talking. We had a shir this morning. So a kid tells me. So we're having this discussion. So one of the kids starts saying something about Satmar. This is like a 14, 15-year-old kid, and he says that they shave. Oh, it's terrible. They shave the heads. The women, it's terrible. So I asked the kid, you spoke to did you speak ever to one of the women? He's like, no, but it's terrible. I said, did you speak to the men? Like, where's the data coming from? You feel like you decided? I'm not saying if it's right or wrong, but you're giving an opinion with such you have a position. Yeah. Where did the position come from? Like, because you heard it in the media, and that's what someone else told you to say. We have opinions about the world. Hashem created the world for the purpose of Kiyamat Torah v'Mitzvahs. A little bit of a little humility to see the world through Torah and Mitzvahs. You understand what I'm saying? To see the world as an agent. What's the world? These are my opportunities to do mitzvahs. Right? It's a different perspective. What is the world? An opportunity to do a mitzvah, not the things I will benefit from it. What I could do with it, right? The famous medrash that I mentioned in the past about the king that called in 2 servants. He gave them ingredients. He said, "Come back to me in 2 days." Right? They came back. One servant took the ingredients that he got from the king. He treated it like a Rebbe dollar. He put it in a Rubbermaid. He sealed it. He protected it, ear-tight. Right? Right. 2 days later, they come back to the king. One brings back the same ingredients. The other one brings a cake. The king says, "Chacham, I didn't give you the ingredients, so you should give me back the ingredients. Show me what you could do with it." That was the Maisa with Rabbi Akiva. I think it was about the bris, right? One of the Romans was criticizing him. Is David perfect? Yeah. He makes mistakes? No. So why are you doing bris milah? Right? David created you like this, right? So Rabbi Akiva said, "Yeah, no, very good. Let me see. What are you having for lunch today?" "I'm having some bread." "What do you mean? David made grain. It was perfect." "No, what did you change? You're improving?" Right? Yeah, that's what we do here. That's our shlichus. Oh, taka. That. Right? We look at the world, what we could do with. What the Eibusher gave us, what we could do with it. Let's take a look. Beis. V'hinei klal kol ha'teira kula, klal kol ha'teira mitzvah gimel madreigas. There's three areas. Teira vedig milas chasadim. Teira tefillah tzedakah. Ketnan ashleish dvarim melamim teira milas chasadim. Ketfila hivim mokem avedas hakarbonis. Milas chasadim hainu tzedakah. Keneged gimel dvarim elu, corresponding to these 3 things. The pasuk says, "Barasiv yitzartiv afasisiv," and these 3 things correspond to machshava, dibur, ma'aser, thought, speech, and action. Barasiv, creation, is machshava, because machshava, thought, is where letters are created. Consciousness is where we begin. Tefillah is avoda shebalev, zu hakavana b'machshava b'rusa d'liba. Tefillah is kavana for those of you that remember this mimer from last year, that here the Alter Rebbe puts Torah puts Tefillah above Torah. And Tefillah is kavana. Tefillah is about intent. K'maimer azal, it has to be infused with heart. K'maimer azal tefillah b'lei kavana k'guf b'lei neshama. And then, why do we speak by davening? You have to speak. V'diburat tefillah. Hurak, it's an agent. Hurak sheyiyah hakoil me'erir hakavana. The reason we speak in davening is only to help stir emotion and to help keep our focus to help keep our minds focused. That's why we speak. Speaking is secondary. What's primary is kavanah. L'cheini b'makam hakarbonos. If we learn a little bit about the avoda in the Beis Hamikdash, that avoda is hakarbonos hoisa. The work in the Beis Hamikdash was done by the kohanim. The kohanim were silent. The Leviim made a lot of noise. The kohanim were silent. Kohanim be'uvda b'ru'usa deliba keniska b'zoyah, like the Gemara says, pnimius alev. I've mentioned this in the past, right? There are different ways to express this, but we always think about the neshama being in the mind. The pintel yid, the deepest depth of the neshama is in the heart. And that's Ru'usa Deliba. Ru'usa Deliba is higher than, it's deeper than. The pintel yid is not in the mind. The pintel yid doesn't think. Pintel yid is essence. Right? It's like higher than Bechira, So that... Now, just a nekuda, in the Ma'amorim in Samachvov, right in the beginning, and also the Frierdiker Rebbe has Ma'amorim that discuss this, that when a person escapes death, they do it. They're screaming, they're shouting. It's done with it's very expressive. It's noisy, bekitzer. When a person runs towards life, it's done in silence. Even though it seems to be the same thing. Really, really precious to you, you don't talk about it. Because it's personal. Really precious. I don't mean to say this in a negative way, but people who come to shul and talk about their relationships, there's a little bit of a problem. Maybe they don't know better, but you don't talk to your friends about your relationship with your wife, because it's deeper than that. It's not about showing off. That's the part of you. It's like the external part that you're showing off to people. I'm not talking now about a therapist either, right? We're talking. It's something that's very dear to you. You don't talk about it. It's very dear to you. Kohanim, their avoda comes from a place of silence.
What do you mean running towards life?
What running towards life? Da verstehen.
From the silence. Avodat hakonim.
B'chashoy. Them lo medabrim. B'sheket, complete silence. No hispilus, nothing. Complete silence. Right? You come into a workforce. You have people, a programmer, or whatever. The guy's focused, he's quiet, he does his work, he minds his own business, and right? That's a certain style. And a person who has determination, in a certain way, the more determined someone is, the more silent they are. There's nothing to talk about. There's a certain focus. What running towards life means, we have to find a muscle. What it means, running towards life. Right? When a person knows that there's something that's really good for them and they want it, and they go get it, they don't do it in a noisy way. They do it quiet. But running away, Reb Mendel Futterfas spoke about people, like he saw this phenomenon of people escaping death without any control, just screaming, letting out like these weird sounds. Okay, so Leviim, their avodas were a lot of ispilos. It's a big tumult. It's external. It's not as deep. Kohanim, their avoda is beru'usad lib. It's very, very deeply, and that's the inyan of davening. Davening is more silent than learning Torah. Learning Torah is there should be a koil Torah. When you daven, you're not allowed to hear in Shemona Esrei. No one's allowed to even hear your voice. Also, like bias koila, you're not supposed to. It shouldn't be audible. Bilash is a yoter pnimi. It's very deep. So that's the inyan of tefillah. That the person's intent and his thought should be focused on the davening. I'll say another joke from Rav Mendel Morozov. Mendel Morozov, he said, at the end of Shemona Esrei, we say, Yiyu l'Ratso in imrei fi, v'hegi libi l'fanecha, Hashem tzuri v'goyali. Yeah, omrim et ze pa'amayim, right? We say twice the same pasuk. So what does it mean? Yiyu l'Ratso in imrei fi, may the words of my mouth be accepted before you, v'hegi libi, and my thoughts. Kavanah should also be accepted. So Rav Mendel said, Meila, the words, I said the right words, but my thoughts, all my machshava zoros. So he says, when he said that, he wasn't thinking what it means either. Yeah, the old echet nishkat. But that's really Shetia. He said it, he said it to be so many times to us. Shetia kavanosei umachshavtei dvuka b'Hashem. Lias merkava elav yizbarech. A person should want to be a merkava to the Eibusher. I want to lower the meaning of this for a minute. V'limser nafshei uretzonei la'Hashem yizbarech lias loy rak rotzen echad v'leiv echad l'Aviv asher b'shamayim. All he wants is to do what Hashem wants from him. Right? We discussed this in the past. The greatest wish a person could have is to know, what am I supposed to be doing in this world? If someone could tell me, what is the purpose? What was I meant to do? Right? That's the way people felt, like with the Rebbe. The Rebbe tells me to do something, now I know what I'm meant to do. How can you get any better than that? Like, that's what I'm meant to do. Right? So, that's the meaning of that line. Eibishter, I don't want my agenda. Help guide me to your agenda. I want to do what you want me to do. That's the limser nafshei ritzonei. I want to give myself over. How do we do that? Not to separate ourselves from Hashem's oneness. By staying away from negative things. Doing what I'm supposed to do. How could I... One part of this is believing it. The second part is overcoming my own obstacles. I wake up in the morning, I plan what to do for the day, and then 11 o'clock in the morning, suddenly I'm lazy. Now, I know what I need to do. I know that I could do it, but I don't want to do it anymore. That's the skafia part. You got to push yourself. Azai yoir olav eir Hashem al nafshei. Then he will be gebenched, that he will discover what the Eibush. In other words, the Eibush is going to guide him to what he's supposed to do. This theme we'll finish in a few moments. Tiknu birkas hashachar. That's the meaning. When we wake up every morning, we say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Ha'olam. We say it 16 times. We're asking Sheyumsha b'chinas Havaya, Eibush, the creator of the world. Lahavis ha'olam is sh'layufsak chayusam v'kiyumam. Don't stop. V'lo yistalik l'mayla kateva eish chas v'sholem. V'liyas b'chinas Elokeinu. I want you to be part of my life. Sh'niyah b'teilim elov. B'chinas merkava elov yizbarech. I want to help fulfill Hashem's plan. At sheyikra shmoy aleinu. We should be called my Eibishter. Elokeinu. Like it says in the pasuk Elekei Avram. That it's possessive. That the Eibishter is the Eibishter of Avram. Why? Hashem shu b'chinas merkava. Avram Avinu was a merkava. He was a chariot. Yeah. Not to be my own entity with my own agenda. Rak melech ha'olam. Pirush. Mashu mahave u'machaya ha'olamus. That the Eibishter gives life. Why does the world feel like it's separate? Because he's a melech. And melech shmei nikra. The king's name is on his subjects. Ve'ein melech b'loi am. To be a king, this is a similar idea to the point that he said before. Just like fire needs a wick, a king needs a people. Meloshen oimim is dvarim zorim v'nifrodim. Sheim yeh la'adam harbe banim, ein nikra shmei melech aleim. No, you tell me why. Why, if a king has many sons, can he not be a king? Why can't you be a king on your children?
Good story.
No, why not?
And be disconnected from them. It can't be so. It can't be like a child.
Because if you're emotionally attached, your judgment is skewed. You can't lead them.
Can't taxi.
In order to lead them, you need to be detached. Then you could be impartial. We're going to conclude here. Thank you everyone for joining.